Very good. So, what is macroeconomics all about? Then I would like to ask you one more question, and that is, what you think are the roles and responsibilities of government of a country in respect of management of economy of the nation? So, what do you think are the role and responsibility that the governments of the respective countries have?
What are roles and responsibility? So government is supposed to one side is revenue, one side is second side the expenditure.
Uh huh. All right.
These two government has to maintain.
Okay. Okay. What else? What else?
Some cash liquidity in the market
Okay. Very good. Very good.
and basically control all kind of
Okay.
the law and other taxation policies, revenue policies,
Okay.
and that's the way.
Okay. All right. Good friends. So let me sum it up all that you have said. The role and responsibility for any government in any country is to achieve economic prosperity for all citizens, to achieve economic prosperity for all citizens, that is to achieve all inclusive growth. Now this friends, if you analyze deeply, you would realize is the role and responsibility of the governments of different countries. And this friends is macroeconomics is all about. So what is macroeconomics? Macroeconomics is the economy, is study of the economy of the entire country, which is at the gross level. And what is in the bottom of the macroeconomics? The bottom of the macroeconomics is to do the things in the country in a way so that there is a prosperity for everyone, there is an employment for everyone, there is equality of distribution of wealth and income, there are no disparities, there are no high inflations, there are no any kind of disturbances in the entire economy. Everybody in the country should be happy, should be prosperous, should be doing well. Nobody should be having any kind of suffering. I am talking about the financial suffering. Now that is macroeconomics is all about. And this role falls on the government of the country. So it is the responsibility of the government of the country to ensure economic administration of the entire nation so that there is all inclusive growth. And this is macroeconomics is all about. So when we study macroeconomics, we keep what we have discussed just now in our mind so that it gives us a direction as to where do we have to move. So now for achieving this purpose, what the government has to do? Number one. Number two, what are the tools available with the government for achieving this? So the tools are in the form of fiscal policy, tools are in the form of monetary policy. So what is a fiscal policy? What is a monetary policy? Is again what we will learn in this particular module. So let's start with the course curriculum for this module. So we have national income accounting, and then we talk about the basics of fiscal policy, as I mentioned a little while ago, basics of monetary policy, and finally we look at the understanding business cycles. And remember, there is a direct relationship between the purpose that we have spoken about and the business cycles. So, business cycles is what? Recession, expansion, all that is part of your business cycle. And what a government has to do? Government has to respond to the business cycles in a way that the economic administration, the economic management of the country remains sound and strong. So with this background, let us look at first the what is national income. So what is national income, friends? National income is the money value of all the final goods and services produced by a country during a period of 1 year. That is national income. And please understand, it is not different from income of an individual. So what an individual would earn in a year, that is his personal income, and what a country would earn in a year, that is the national income. How do you arrive at that figure? So you arrive at that figure by taking money value of all the final goods and services. Remember, final goods and services. Why do you not take the intermediate goods and services? Because if you take the value of intermediate goods and services also, there will be a duplication, and there will be duplication, there will be a distortion, and you will not be able to arrive at the right national income figure. So that is the beginning point, friends, and that is national income. How do you define it? Now the question is, why do we need to do the national accounting, national income accounting? Answer is same as for the business. So why a business will need to do financial accounting? A business will need to do financial accounting so as to know at any given point in time where does it stand. And likewise, in case of a country also, the national accounting has to be done for achieving the following purpose. Number one, for analyzing and evaluating the performance of the economy. How the economy of the country is doing, that is the objective number one. Number two, knowing the composition and structure of the national income. So where is the national income coming from? How much of it is coming from the agriculture? How much of it is coming from the service sector? How much of this is coming from the manufacturing sector? So that analysis has to be done. And then of course, there is a department in the government who does this job. So they will have different permutations and combinations of accounting of the national income. And that is to do the composition and the structure. And finally, so as to ensure proper income distribution, economic forecasting, and for choosing economic policies and evaluating them. So that is another reason as to why the national national income accounting has to be done. Because as I said, remember, and I would repeat once again. So whenever you are learning a topic, first understand what is the objective of that particular concept. Now once you understand the objective of that particular concept, then the rest of the things starts falling in line automatically. So as in this case, why should the accounting be done of the national income? Because the government has a purpose. And what is the purpose that the government has? The government has the purpose to ensure all inclusive growth. So unless and until you do the national income accounting, will you really be able to know whether there is an inclusive growth or there is no inclusive growth? It's only when you will come to know there is an inclusive growth or there is no inclusive growth, then you will be able to draft your policies, change your policies, formulate your policies accordingly. Now with this, friends, let's understand what is GDP, what is GNP, what is the GNP and GDP and things like that. So would somebody like to tell me very quickly? Okay, so I think we can pass through it very quickly. So what is gross national product? And please remember, there are two things. One is gross national product and one is gross domestic product. So can somebody tell me quickly what is the difference between the gross national product and the gross domestic product? What is the difference between these two?
Gross domestic product, we take the income from within the country. In case of GNP, we take the foreign income also.
Excellent. Absolutely perfect, Sanjay. You have hit on the nail. And that is the difference between the GNP and GDP. So GDP is the gross domestic product, and that means it is the income earned within the country. And that is your gross domestic product. So and GNP GNP will not only include the gross domestic product, but it would also include something which is known as NFIA, net foreign income from abroad. NFIA, I'm repeating, net foreign income from abroad. Now, what is this? It is, some of the Indians are staying outside, and those Indians staying outside are earning income out there. So therefore, these are Indians staying outside India. They are earning an income, and they being an Indian, their income is supposed to be part of India's income. So in the GDP, firstly, what you do, you will add the income earned by Indians outside India. Now remember, as the income earned by Indians outside India is to be treated as India's income, likewise, income earned by the foreign nationals in India is going to be treated as income of their country, and that means it has to be netted off in our case. So what will be the what will be the GNP? GNP will be GDP plus the income earned by the Indians outside India minus the income earned by foreigners in India, and that is your gross national product. Gross national product.
So
Now,
I think, sir, a little bit confusion is there. So the income which is earned outside India, and is the part of that income coming to India, only that part is going to be added in GDP, sir, or all the income which are earning in outside India?
no,
or
no, no.
Indians
Only
are to be added.
only what is coming in India.
Okay.
Only what is coming in India.
Through the, they are sending
Remittances.
to the relatives.
Yeah.
To the relatives or something else.
Yes, yes, yes.
They are added in their
Correct.
their income.
Correct. That's right. That's right. And likewise, what is remitted by foreigners from India to outside India, what is remitted by them will be deducted for calculating the figure of NFIA. NFIA is is the net foreign income from abroad. Does that make sense to you, Ankit?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good, very good. Now what you do, from the GNP, you minus the figure of depreciation, and which is the depreciation for the country as a whole. And these numbers, of course, are calculated and compiled and gathered, collated by, there's a government department, the statistics office. So they would do all this job, and so GNP minus the depreciation is equal to net national product. Likewise, gross domestic product, as we have understood, gross domestic product, that means income earned within the country. And so from the GDP, when you minus the amount of depreciation, what you get is known as NDP, national net domestic product. Net domestic product. So this is your GNP, NNP, GDP, and NDP. Now then you have something called per capita income. So what is per capita income? We know by all of us. So from the income, you deduct the population, and what you get is per capita income. That is the income per person. So you can calculate GNP per person, you can calculate NNP per person, you can calculate GDP per person, you can calculate NDP also per person. So what you have to do, pick up these figures, divide by the number of divide by the population, the number of population of people in the country. That will give you your per capita income. And personal income is the aggregate of the income earned by the individuals. Personal income is the income earned by the individuals in aggregate. What is personal disposable income? So personal disposable income is personal income minus taxes. Minus taxes. So that becomes your personal disposable income. Because again, what is the meaning of disposable income? Income which is available with you, that you can dispose, that you can use. So income tax is not in your hand, because it will be deducted from your personal income. So what is available in your hand is your disposable income. So aggregate of all that becomes your personal disposable income. And then you have a real and nominal income. And I'm sure you all understand this. From your nominal income is the income that you have earned. So that is nominal income. And when you adjust it for the depreciation, or when you adjust it in for the present value, it becomes your real income, and that is the real income and the nominal income. So with this, friends, let's go to the next one.
Nominal income, can you explain again, sir? Nominal means which are earning by the personal identity.
Yeah. So nominal income is the nominal, yani what you receive in your hand. Nominal income is the income earned by you, and real income is when it is factored with reference to a particular index. So okay, so all right, please pay attention, please pay attention. Your nominal income is the income that you have earned. You minus from it the inflation, and what remains in your hand is your real income. So real income is, in other words, is an indicator of value, the real value of the money that you have earned. So please pay attention. Let me give another example. You earn 100 rupees as salary. You earn 100 rupees as salary. 100 rupees is your nominal income. Are you with me, everyone?
Yeah.
And your inflation in the country is 5%. So 100 minus 5% is your real income.
The meaning of national product, sir?
Yes.
Meaning of national product.
Yes, Surya?
National product. Under the national product, we are saying gross national product and a net national product. I want to know the meaning of national product.
We are going to come to that now, Surya. So we would.
GDP.
Yeah.
Within the country means only resident income will be taken into account. If NRI is also earning in India.
Right.
That is not to be taken back, no?
Okay, your voice got broken. Can you ask this question once again, Sanjay?
Yes, sir. Sir, in GDP, we have to take the within the country income, okay?
Yes.
So, in the only resident income, if someone not NRI,
Yeah.
non-resident,
Yes.
established in the India factory,
Right.
if they are, whether that will be taken into consideration or not, sir?
Okay. To the extent it is being remitted outside India,
Yeah.
it will not be considered as India's income.
No, yes. If it remains in India, then it is added back.
Then it is added back actually.
Okay, sir, I agree.
Yeah.
Next one, what is the difference between real income and personal income?
Okay, personal income is the aggregate of all the personal income of everybody in the country, is a total of all the individuals. Total of income of all the individuals in the country is the personal income.
Okay.
So that means we have a population of 130 crore. So what is the income earned by all these 130 crore people? You put it together, it is the personal income.
Okay.
And when you minus the amount of tax that would be paid by these people, it becomes disposable income.
And real income?
Okay, real income, as I gave the example such a little while ago, you have earned a salary of 100 rupees. Okay, that's your nominal income. And there is a inflation of 5%. So nominal income minus the inflation is your real income.
Okay, I understand.
So that is, real income is the real value of the money that you have earned. You have earned 100 rupees as salary, good. But what is the real value? The real value is not 100 rupees. The real value is 100 minus 5, because 5 is the inflation. So that's your real income.
It is after tax?
No.
Which is after tax?
Real income.
No. Tax will be different actually. Tax will be different.
So it means the real income percentage difference of only inflation.
Exactly, Sanjay. I think that you have understood it correctly.
Okay, thank you very much.
See, देखो, it's very simple, Sanjay. Real is 100 rupees worth 100 rupees tell me, is 100 rupees that you are getting in your hand with inflation being 5%, is it real worth 100 rupees? No, it's not worth 100 rupees. Because there is an inflation of 5%, it is worth 95 rupees. So the real income is 95 rupees.
Understood.
Okay, good.
But still you will not explain national product, sir.
सर नितेश सर इस तरह से कह सकते हैं सिर्फ डिस्पोजेबल इनकम माइनस इन्फ्लेशन इज द रियल इनकम.
No. See, so those, देखो, Ritesh, you have to understand everything in a different context. You have all the people in the, as I mentioned a little while ago, all the people in this country add their individual income together. Okay, so you can do many calculations from the same income, and let me explain that with the help of an example. All the people put together in this country, we'll just for the sake of example earn 1,000 rupees. So the total income earned by all the individuals in the country is 1,000 rupees. So that is the personal income. Now this personal income is also nominal income. Now inflation is 5%. So 5% of 1,000 is 50. So you minus from 1,050, what you get is real income as 950. Are you with me, Ritesh?
Yes sir.
Okay. Now you can do the further calculation. So that means what you will need to do, Ritesh, let me explain to you. So what you will need to do, now let's say this 1,000 is the income and tax rate is 20%. So in nominal terms, the disposable income is 800. Are you with me, everybody?
Yes.
In nominal terms, the disposable income is 800 rupees. Now you want to find out what is the disposable income in real terms. So make 95% of 800. So that means deduct 5% from 800. 5% of 800 is 40. So 800 minus 40, 760 is your disposable income in real terms. I hope that makes sense to all of you.
Yes sir.
है ना? ये बहुत बढ़िया क्लियर हो गया, एकदम बहुत बढ़िया क्लियर हो गया. Okay, good.
One last question.
Yes.
When you talk about depreciation,
हाँ.
so what does that mean? How we calculate the depreciation in the case of a country?
Yeah, see, actually, you have I think the department called CMIE, whose job is to do the monitoring of the entire economy, and they keep collecting data from all the corporates and things like that. So they compile all the details of all the assets and all the depreciation. So the collective depreciation charged by all the entire country, that is the amount of depreciation that is referred here.
Okay.
है ना? So the government at its own level is having a phenomenal machinery, Kamal, and where they compile so much of statistics, so much of data, and you can understand the way in the recent past we have seen how the government has been coming out with the policies after policies, and relief measures after relief measures with very precise numbers. It's all because they have a fantastic mechanism, apparatus, which is doing the compilation of data on regular basis. So they would do the calculation and computation of the amount of depreciation. How accurate or not accurate it is, I'm not the person to make a comment, but I'm sure they must be doing a fairly good job. Okay.
Sir, is GDP and national income same?
Where were you, Anil? Where were you? Okay. GDP and national income. Okay. See, remember, when you say national income, basically you are referring to gross national product.
Yeah.
Or, so gross, you call it gross income, or you call it gross national product, or you just call national product, or you call just national income. They would mean the same thing. But when you say gross domestic product, GDP, Anil, would mean income of the country as a whole. In national income you make an adjustment. What adjustment you make? In national income you add a factor called NFIA. NFIA stands for net foreign income from abroad. So GDP is the income of the country, and in the national income you make adjustment for the income that may have been earned by the Indians outside India. So when you add the income earned by the Indians outside India to the GDP and minus income earned by the foreigners in India and remitted outside India. So when you minus that becomes your NFIA, net foreign income from abroad. So when you add the NFIA to your GDP figure, it becomes your national product, gross national product, which in the common parlance is also referred as gross national income or national income.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Yes, Sanjay. Yes.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Surya, your questions I am covering in any case as we move forward. Okay. Now the question is how do you measure? How do you measure these income, whether GDP or GNP? How do you measure them? So there are three methods. One is expenditure method, second is income method, and third is value added method. So three income, and remember this is what you need to remember. So there may be a question in the paper that which are the three methods of measuring national income: expenditure method, income method, value added method, asset method. So if you have understood and if you have paid attention, you will immediately remember at your subconscious level that what I had read was expenditure method, income method, and the value added method. This asset method has got no relevance, so you will simply struck that out as the answer, that this is not the answer for this income. So this is how you will get a question. You can get a question. Let us look at now the first method, in expenditure method. So how do you calculate the national income using the expenditure method? So you can see in the bottom here GDP, and how do you calculate GDP? You take C. C is the consumption expenditure. C is the consumption expenditure. And remember, as per the national income accounting of the country, how the consumption expenditure is defined. Consumption expenditure is defined as non-durable consumer goods, with a lifespan of 3 years, less than 3 years. So that is so all the expenditures which are incurred in the country on non-durable consumer goods, and non-durable consumer goods would mean the goods whose life is less than 3 years. So you will take the total of that expenditure, and then what you do? Then you take the capital goods. So the C in you take the capital goods, and capital goods is denominated with I. Why it is done so, I do not know, but capital goods is denominated in the formula as I. And what is capital goods? So capital goods are durable consumer goods with a lifespan of 3+ years. So this is how you will define. You will take the capital goods as the expenditure. So and third is government expenditure. So whatever expenditure the government would do, you take those figure and plus the net export, which is net exports would mean total exports minus total imports. Now there is a slight confusion in this particular line, which I am also not very clear, but for your purpose, for the exam purpose, you should be able to remember the GDP is equal to C. C means consumption expenditure, I means capital goods, G means government expenditure, X means net exports. So that is what you should remember. So when you total it up, you get the figure of GDP. This is your expenditure method, and I'm sure you will understand as simple as that. What is the why do you call it expenditure method? You call it expenditure method because what you are considering under this method for finding out the GDP is basically the expenditure. So that's why it is known as expenditure method. Now we go to the next item, and the next item is income approach. So one is the expenditure approach, and second is the income approach. In case of the expenditure approach, what do? Under the expenditure approach, you find out all the expenditures incurred in the country, add them together. So remember, all of you, please pay attention. When you are adding the expenditure of the entire country, by default you are adding income also of all the country, isn't it? Because somebody's expenditure is somebody's income. So what you are doing under that method, you are taking the expenditure. And why I am explaining this to you, because being finance person, a doubt can come to our mind. How the GDP can be same under the expenditure method and the income method? Because income will include the profit margin. Expenditure will be only expenditure. That is all right for the accounting of a company's books of accounts. But as far as the economy accounting is concerned, the fact that you are taking expenditure of the entire country, by default you are taking income of the entire country, because somebody's expenditure is definitely somebody's income. So that is your expenditure method. But you have a separate method for doing the national accounting, which is referred as income approach. So what you do under the income approach, you basically find out which are the incomes earned by people in the country. Which are the incomes earned by the people in the country. So which are the income? Number one is wages, rents, interest and profits. So these are the four components. If you think about it, and you will realize that all the incomes which are earned in this country, not in this country, in all the countries, can be put together, can be classified into four broad categories. So one is the wages, rents, interest and profit. And these are linked. These are linked with what? These are linked with the factor of services. So what are the factor of services? Factor of services are labor, land, capital and entrepreneurial activity. So there can be a question, which of the following is not a factor of services? So they would give you 3 out of these 4 that you see on the screen. One, they will give you something else, and then you will need to answer as to find out as to what the wrong answer is, and that becomes your right answer. Likewise, they can also give you a question, what are the different components of national income under the income approach? And you can see at the bottom, wages, rents, interest and profits. So again, they will give you 3 of them, and the 4th one will be wrong one, and you will need to spot the wrong one. So when you add all these 4 components together, you arrive at the GDP, because you think about it and you will come to know, yes, whatever incomes are being earned in this country will either fall into the category of wages, or will fall into the category of rents, or will fall into the category of interest, or will fall into the category of profits. So you put all of them together, and that becomes your GDP, right? Your GDP, and that is your second method as per the national accounting. Let's go to the third method for doing the accounting of national income, and that is referred as value added method. Value added method. Now friends, I would very strongly urge all of you that after the session gets over, please go through these notes and think about them, because see, many of the connections will happen when you apply your mind to it. You should answer to yourself how expenditure method, income method, value added method, how all of them will come to the same figure. So, and that question will answer, you will need to think and find for yourself, and which I am sure when you think about it, then something will start ringing in your mind. So what is the value added method? it is also known as production method. What you do under the production method or the value added method, various industrial sectors are identified and classified. Then net value added by each enterprise or industrial sector are added up. Thereafter, value added by an enterprise is obtained by deducting from the value of output. So what you are doing is, what you have done, you have classified the entire economy into different sectors, industrial sectors or otherwise. And for all the enterprises within that sector, you pick up the gross value added product, and you make an adjustment to that gross value added product. And what adjustment do you make? Number one, expenditure incurred on the intermediate goods such as raw material, unfinished goods purchased from others, you will make an adjustment. And why will you make an adjustment? Because if you don't make an adjustment, there would be a case of double accounting. Then you make an adjustment for depreciation, because that would help you to find out your income. And then you also make adjustment for the indirect taxes. And why indirect taxes? Because indirect taxes, remember, is not an income. Indirect taxes is not the GDP, is not the part of the GDP, it's a tax. So therefore you will need to make adjustment. So from the gross value added by a company, adjusted by the three figures, that is the cost of intermediate, depreciation and the indirect taxes, then what you get the value added of that unit, of that enterprise. Likewise, you do it for all the enterprise within that particular sector. Likewise, you do it for all the sectors put together, and this is how you will figure out GDP, which is the third method of finding out national income, which is value added method. If you have any question, please go ahead.
Yes, sir. Little bit, sir.
Yeah.
So as sir you were saying, sir, the difference between the expenditure method and the income method. In the income method, definitely profit will be added, but in the companies we are taking in this economy, we are not taking. But sir, the value, how will be the same in the expenditure method and the income method, because the profit ingredient is added in the income method, not in the expenditure method. How the figure will come same?
Yeah. So that is what I was saying, Ankit. After this session, think about all these three methods. Number one, firstly understand, as I said, expenditure method will take the expenditure, but remember, expenditure of somebody is income of somebody. So if you are aggregating all the expenditure, by default you are aggregating all the incomes also. And for that, Ankit, what you will have to do, as I mentioned a little while ago, after this session, think about all these three methods, and then you would be able to correlate. I can do it with you for you now, but unfortunately we have a limitation of time. And remember, my idea is not to give you the ready answer. My idea is to provoke your thinking. My idea is to stimulate your thinking and let you find out the answer by yourself. If you are still not able to find out the answer, then tomorrow when we meet, we'll take it up actually.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
And the reason behind is very simple, Ankit. This is little complex. This is little complex. If I have to explain, we will consume the whole session. And I'm just trying to be a little careful on the time management, and that is why I'm shifting some of the jobs to be done by you directly. But I'm sure you will do it. Okay, somebody was saying something.
Production method is a production method.
Yes, Sanjay?
The production method means deduction I understand, but relating production method means what, sir, actually?
What have you understood?
Sir, I understood total intermediate income from total intermediaries, less indirect taxes and this depreciation, this will be deducted.
Right. So that is the production method.
Okay.
That is the production method. So if you do, Sanjay, if you do it for all the enterprises across the country, it will include the total income of the entire country.
Exactly.
All right. And you make the adjustment so as to ensure there is no duplication.
Understood.
Okay, good, very good. Okay, so now friends, what are the tools in the hands of the government for management of economy of a nation? Please tell me, all of you. What are the tools in the hands of a government for management of economy of the nation?
some policy, different types of